Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're going to start quick with Miranda's Bible point, and then we're going to get into words mean things.
So this is a different Bible than the one we have been using, so we don't have the devotion mishap that we've been having with my Bible. So this is actually my husband's very first Bible from when he was a child that his parents gave him. So it's just as special.
His church presented it to him.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, so we're going to go this side. Oop. And we are in Matthew chapter 3. So it'll be Matthew chapter 3, verse 11. I baptize you with water to show that you have repented, but the one who will come after me will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire. He is much greater than I am, and I am not good enough to even carry his sandals.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
Very beautiful. And if you don't understand what that means, they're talking about Jesus. And it's funny that I was just thinking about baptism today and how there are so many traditions in church that do infant baptism, which is not scriptural. That's a tradition. That's not scripture. Scripture has water, submersion, baptism. And I believe that I want to live by scripture, not by tradition. So I was just thinking about that today. We are going to get started.
Yes, we are.
And this is going to be a two-parter because it was going to be a one-parter, but then I had more ideas and it's like, this is going to be too long.
So welcome to part 1
of Words Mean Things. Did you grow up with anybody saying, Miranda, words mean things?
No. Never.
What does that mean when I would say that?
It means that you shouldn't be using words like hate or never and always.
That's true. Never and always were things that I would constantly ask the kids to be aware of using, because never and always are pretty strong words, as are love and hate. So words mean things. And as we talked yesterday about the coordination for the demoralization and takedown of America from internally, a lot of that has to do with words and capturing vocabulary, changing a word. Words mean things. And if you need the meaning of something changed, you have to change the word. And so you have to do like the Indiana Jones when he wanted to get the skull off the rock, but he knew that something would happen if he didn't equally put something in the same place.
You have to have a counterweight.
Exactly. We have a lot of that happening in our language. And I thought if we went through 4 words and just did a breakdown of, 4 sets of words, that it would be a good training for you to ask yourself why. If there's been a word, and maybe you're not old enough to have seen that switch. I've been old enough to see a bunch of switches.
Me too, and I'm only 30. Well,
exactly.
Not quite, but a couple months away from 30.
So you need to ask why. Why? Why do they need to change that word? So we're going to start, and the first one that I was going to start with is sex and gender. We're told that they can be interchangeable. They're wanting us to make them interchangeable. So I'm just going to read a few things for you. The modern social and psychological distinction between biological sex and gender was developed in the medical community. That's what they're trying to tell you, that it was in the medical community. There are words, be aware, when you Google, you're also being propagandized. Even when you're using AI, because I use AI as well. And AI is a good source for gathering data quickly, very quickly. However, it's going to give you what has been fed. And there were times when, because they would give me, this institute says this institute says that. all of them are left-leaning institutes. They want to go to the ACLU all the time. Excuse me? So then I said, why don't you use conservative? Because it said liberal think tank such and such this, liberal think tank this, and it's like, how come you're not giving me any conservative think tanks? So then I have to ask, why are you not giving me this? Then AI argues with me. And it isn't until I then command it, I only want to see conservative think tank results. So then they give them to me, but they first preface it with the danger in me doing that. Yeah.
It's dangerous?
It's dangerous.
How does it say it's dangerous?
Because AI has been programmed to say that. That's why.
So it says it's dangerous, but it doesn't say it's dangerous because and give you a reason, or it just says it's dangerous?
Big long reason of how that's dangerous and what it can lead to. And the whole time I'm laughing.
What it can lead to? What is it going to lead you to? Truth?
Oh, I'm sure that I have some of that in here, but I probably didn't even port it over to print because it's like this
not even worth it.
Yeah, not even worth it because it's a whole lot of rhetoric trying to scare me. But I know better.
That conservatives are dangerous.
So just know, if you're using Google, if you're using AI, they memory hole things. You have to figure out right words. For instance, Miranda got a hold of me a couple of days ago when she was editing, and she said, Mom, I think you're wrong on this because I Googled and I can't find. She wanted to insert something. What was it again? It
had to do with the
Pete Buttigieg's
translation.
Dad.
From Pete Buttigieg translating the letters of Antonio
Gramsci. And I know I'm not wrong on that. I read that in a book.
Which is true. It is factual, and I do have it in the videos. However, when I went to go find it...
You can't find it unless you know where to find it.
I had to look for it.
You have to go to the Columbia School newspaper, or you have to go to his dead notice. What's that called? Obituary. His obituary.
Columbia is where he was a professor at, so... It's crazy that they bury these things so that you can't find it.
So it'll look like
it tried to tell me that somebody else did it. And it's not true at all.
No. So I put that out there for you to be aware, because Miranda's even aware of that, and she went, Mom, I think you're wrong on this one. I can't find it. And it's like those dirty buggers are hiding it from Mer.
By the time that she had gotten back to me, I was able to dig deep enough that I had already found it. But if you're just an unsuspecting person looking these things up, say you're trying to fact check us and see if what we're telling you is right or wrong, just be aware that they do hide things. And even somebody like me who knows that they try to hide things, even I was like, maybe this isn't right. And because I was having a hard time finding it.
And you know what? I figured out why. Because I just saw this random poll yesterday that said that for the 2028 presidential election, there's a clear number one for the conservative side, which is J.D. Vance.
Yep.
But then they said
love J.D.
Kamala Harris is at 7%. But the
She's
other
gonna try again.
Yeah, the other two. Well, this is just asking people who you would vote for, who you would like to see in 2028.
I see.
And so the other two were at 23% apiece, which means they're splitting the vote. One was Gavin Newsom, the other one was Pete Buttigieg. So if they're trying to prop him up as the 2028
they have to
hide that. And so they are doing well at scrubbing right now. So that's my theory anyway. So sex and gender. In 1955 was the first time that we hear gender role, and that was by John Money. And we won't go into full detail about John Money.
We still need to do a John Money video.
We do. With the twins, that this man was a sick man. And at least they call him a sexologist on here, that he was the one that first tried to prove his theory that that your sex can be called gender and it can be a social construct, and you can raise a baby as a different sex if you call it a gender, and that they never know the difference because you are
Which isn't true, by the way.
It's not. And as it turns out, the twins that it was tried on both ended up committing suicide in 2002 and 2004. But we'll tell you that whole money saga. So it started there, and then in 1966, the term gender identity was introduced in a press release from Johns Hopkins Hospital to announce a new clinic for transsexual people. So gender identity was used for marketing. Marketing what? Transgender sex reassignment surgeries at Johns Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
So now gender identity has become a marketing strategy to make money. It's important that you know where this stuff comes from. They needed to get rid of the word sex so that they could promote the word gender, so that they could continue to make money on sexual reassignment surgeries. So how did they get it popular? So the 1970s hits, and the feminist movement adopted and popularized the distinction between sex and gender. So the big uprising of burn your bras in the 70s, and the
Grandma Barb talked about that all the
feminists, yeah. Because up here in North Dakota, when they kept seeing on TV all of these women that were marching for their rights, you can go, you don't have to be chained to a stove barefoot and pregnant. You too can get into the workforce. And she and her friends at coffee would sit around going, why do these women think they can talk for us? We don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. They didn't want to go into the workforce.
No,
they enjoyed the role of being home with their children,
yep.
being homemakers, taking care of their families and their children and their husbands. They didn't want this crazy new wave feminist BS to change the way that they were able to live their lives. And guess what? It did.
And so they were able to push through cultural change through all of the uprise of the women's lib movement of the 70s.
And this was not that long ago. To put it in perspective, that's her mother.
Yep.
She is my mother. So that's 3 generations. And now it's out of control, where people believe that it is impossible to have a stay-at-home mom at all ever.
Yep.
That you have to be like making serious money to even live and have children and stay home.
And I remember
3 generations
as a little girl, you know, that when you look back now at the programming that they did even then, there was a perfume called Enjoli, Enjoli, and she dresses up in this pencil skirt and glasses, and her hair's up in a tight little hairdo, and then she comes in and she grabs a frying pan and she's singing, I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and never, never, ever let you forget you're a man, 'cause I'm a woman, Enjoli. So
'cause I'm a woman, Enjoli. I can bring home the bacon, Enjoli. Fry it up in a pan, Enjoli. And never let you forget you're a man.
Give her Enjoli, the 8-hour perfume for that 24-hour woman.
I can work till 5 o'clock, come home and read you tickety-tock.
Tonight I'm gonna cook for the kids.
And if it's loving you one, I can kiss you and give you the shivering fit.
Enjoli, the 8-hour perfume for your 24-hour woman.
So they were already programming little girls that they can do everything. You can go, and as she's doing this...
I don't need no man.
This dance, well, no. She still has her man.
But that's what they were gearing up for, is what I'm saying.
Yep,
they were gearing up for that movement.
That's a step. And so you can... She pulls her hair down and takes the glasses off and shakes her hair out so she looks like a girl again instead of a business lady. And she's got her pan and she's going to make supper. I can do everything. I can keep my man happy. I can go to the office.
Yeah.
I can still cook supper. I can do it all.
Let me tell you something. as somebody who...
And that was what was put on my shoulders, thinking that is what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
As a little girl, I thought that was what I'm supposed to do. The programming worked on me.
Mm-hmm. As someone who was in corporate America for the longest time, majority of my life, I would say that programming is unrealistic. Because...
Very much.
Thinking that you can
were
work...
actually in industry. You
Well,
were in
true.
manufacturing,
True.
not corporate. Because
Well,
corporate is more desk.
I was both, though.
You were both.
I was both. I was manufacturing and desk. I was in between both worlds. So, to put it in perspective, November will be 1 year of completely being out of traditional punching a clock every day, going to work. For me. Prior to that, I'd worked since I was 15. And before that, I had my own dog walking business at 11 that my mom helped me start. So I was working from a young age until about a year ago. And to think forward into life, you know, being engaged and getting married, and what comes after being married is children, especially at my age. We want to start having kids soon. And to think that I'm going to try and work a 10-hour day and take care of my home, take care of my baby, have to put my baby in daycare, and then knowing how exhausted I was by the end of the day, thinking, how am I ever going to juggle this? And I can't even imagine, like, that's not just me that feels that way. I'm sure there are many other people who feel that weight.
All by design.
And it's not meant to be that way.
Because when moms and dads are too tired to train up their own children, who gets to train them up?
They give them an iPad. And we've talked about this as well.
And also school.
They give them to the school. They give them to the daycare. They put them in front of an iPad or their TV. And it's all by design. And we'll talk more about that later too. But I just wanted to put that little piece out there that this is what we have been led to believe is right. This is what we have been led to believe is the only way, and I'm here to tell you it is not the only way. I stay home, my sister stays home, and our husbands by no means are, you know, making extreme amounts of money. We make sure that we spend our money smart, and we make sure that we're not frivolous spenders. And it's so possible if you are willing to sacrifice some, and not even a lot, because and my husband and I, we really don't sacrifice a lot.
You're very aware of not incurring credit card debt.
Yes. But not only that, but when we were working, I will say that before you quit working, you should definitely, I mean, if you're not married and with somebody, you should definitely be in the workforce. That's a given. But I'm saying when it comes time for you to start building a family, being home, I believe, is more important. So prior to this stage in your life, you 100% should be in the workforce, saving money, and getting yourself in a good credit standing so that you are able to contribute to buying a home with your partner and things like that. So it's important to set yourself up too, because that's something that my husband and I did separately. Was we made sure that we were financially set up and ready to go as well. So it's possible, as long as you are not dumb with your money, and as long as you're not, you know, throwing stuff on credit cards and never paying your credit cards off, because that will hurt you too. And you also don't need to drive the newest car in the world either. That's the other one. A lot of people buy these new vehicles and they're spending $500-600 a month on a car payment. That's kind of crazy. My car is paid off. Actually, I have 2 vehicles that are paid off. My husband has a vehicle that is also paid off. So
mine is paid off. Well, I paid cash for mine.
Yeah, and I paid cash for both of mine as well. So
we're gonna get back.
We're gonna continue on to your words, but
we will.
We'll go more into depth
on that
at
well. Another time. But I needed to rein us back into words so that we don't lose track of. It began in 1955. Just remember, any baby born for the last 6,000 years before 1955, we always called it sex, male and female. 6,000 years. But guess what? 1955, we know more than we have for 6,000 years. And now we have to create a new word called gender so that we can put what we know is a binary onto a spectrum. Why? Always ask why. There's a reason, and it's always going to boil down to Marxism and communism. And you're going to get sick of hearing that. You're going to think that I see a communist behind every bush, but I have receipts for all of it. This is just me trying to explain it to you so that you understand how this happened. How did this happen? So 1955 and then 66, they started using the words gender identity because they were promoting their new gender clinic at Johns Hopkins for sex reassignment surgeries. That's what they called them then. So the 70s came, the feminists started promoting it because the feminist thinkers used the term to describe the socially constructed behaviors and roles of men and women. So they could also use that as an example to be able to get women into the workforce as well, which is also a part of undermining the core family, so the nuclear family. So there are many reasons for these things. And then if anybody remembers Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG, she's the one that started to use the words interchangeable gender discrimination instead of sexual discrimination, sex discrimination. So now we're getting it in judicial branch, and we're getting it written down into the court documents. So now we have another level of legitimacy happening. So now, look, even Ruth Bader Ginsburg is saying gender. And that was going up into the 80s and into the 90s. So then the 90s hits. The 80s, gender was mostly in the academic and activist circles. It stayed there in the 80s. Then the 90s, the FDA, 1993, began using gender instead of sex. And that was under the Clinton administration. So now we're getting it into government. And then, of course, FDA goes to the Americans. So now the citizens are starting to see that this government agency is using this word. So today, it's continuing to evolve so that they can encompass non-binary identities. The challenging the social norms, reproductive rights, equal pay. Feminists explicitly challenged the idea that women's destiny was determined by her biology. This was a strategic choice to focus on social rather than biological basis of discrimination. That's what they needed to do. They needed to start making it illegal for somebody to not identify somebody as gender. And then we saw by 2017 that was going into HR departments, into corporations, because that's when it came into where we worked, and HR pulled us into the big meeting to discuss all of this nonsense that we're like, you're really going to hold us to this stuff? This weirdness? So it had already gotten into manufacturing then by 2017. It just continued to explode and explode and explode. So why did they have to try to change sex to gender? Because they needed that portion to be able to have what is happening currently happen. Because if children were only believing that when they're born, a doctor observes their sex, a doctor doesn't assign, God assigns. But if you can convince a child that there is a binary, that there's a spectrum and not a binary, and then start pumping in the gender ideology, which of course is a spin-off of Marxism, just like critical race theory, same thing. That's the way that you can undermine and begin to radicalize those youth. And so reject the word gender.
Mm-hmm.
Do not use it, because that's all a part of the plan. Thoughts?
I 100% agree, obviously. I've stopped using the term gender. I think it's BS, and you are a male or a female. I refuse to use pronouns. You are what you are, and your pronouns coincide with what your sex is. If you are a biological male, you are a he, him. If you are a biological female, you are a she, her. That's it. There is no in between, and there's always the argument of the fringe minority of the less than 1% that talk about, well, what about the intersex people? Well, what about them? What about them? That's not who we're talking about.
0.001% maybe.
Mm-hmm. And those specific people always have either one or the other majority.
There's a simple hormone test, because I had a friend that had a baby born that you couldn't identify the baby's sex by its genitalia. So they did a hormone test to see what baby was, and then they did reconstruction when it was time for baby to be able to endure that.
Mm-hmm.
And so to even talk about that, it's like, that's as simple as a hormone test.
It's the same thing with the abortion argument, where they bring up, well, what about rape and incest? Oh, you mean the less than 1% of the reason that people get abortions?
So then all you need to say is, so can we come to an agreement that if I say yes, let's go ahead and keep that on the table for rape and incest, but then will you say that all the rest of the abortion needs to be illegal?
They still won't agree.
They always say no, because
so it's
never
not about
that.
Rape and incest. It's not about that. It's about being able to murder babies. There's the same way that it's never about the intersex people and wanting to be able to still reserve the they them for intersex people. It's always about wanting to preserve the use of they them for these other people that believe it's possible for you to be something that you're not. Biologically, you are not.
So that clinic that opened in 1966, Gender Reassignment, was closed in 79 because of so much conservative backlash, and more or less their brainwashing and their trying to wrap it up in the 70s with the feminists to really brand it and push it out to normalize it didn't work. So they needed to go to Plan B. That's why you're going to see that there were things that were changing in the 90s, because oopsie, that one didn't work, but we still need this. So we need to find another way. I remember in high school, it's funny that I remembered that. I knew that there was a place, we heard about it as kids, that people would go to get their sexes changed, and it was in Colorado, I knew. And so it's like, well, I don't think that had shut down. So I Googled it, and sure enough, no, it had not shut down. It was still going in the 80s. So that one was still going strong. The Johns Hopkins one is the one that didn't work. So that I'm going to leave that there, have a whole lot of more content on that, but I don't want to go into any further. I think that you get a little understanding of question when things change
and why
you can find this stuff out. And then the other one, I've got 2 sets for today and 2 sets for tomorrow. This one came to my mind because of Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
Because Charlie has and is still being annihilated by the left, saying he says there's no such thing as empathy. Well, you know what? We have no empathy for you. That word will enrage. Instead of using the word sympathy, they've been programmed to use the word empathy. I was taught the word empathy in a class in high school, but we never used it. But I did remember hearing the word. So, where did it come from? A German scientist. Dun dun dun. It's a German scientific term that made its way here. It was in 1908. It was in German writings. It made its way here in 1913 and began to be used as a term that began in the elite class here in the United States. So 1913 was who was president?
Was it Woodrow Wilson?
Wasn't it though?
It always is.
Yeah, 100%. So what empathy meant at that time was captured the ability to project one's own inner strivings and movements and feelings onto shapes. They used it a lot with artists. They would explain that an artist is able to take their feelings and put it onto a canvas. And that was the word empathy. Had nothing to do with the way that it is used currently. That got changed. And I'll tell you when that got changed. Oh boy. So empathy is defined as feeling with another person by actively entering their emotional experience, while sympathy is defined as a feeling for someone with concern or sorrow. So how can you promote a social contagion without empathy? You can't. How can you radicalize so many of these nutcases that you see out there? Free Gaza, free Palestine. Free Palestine. You have no idea what you're talking about, but you are identifying with the people of Gaza, and you've been raised in the upper class in New York your whole life.
My favorite is when it's always gays for Palestine, and I'm like, do you
Queers
realize
for Palestine?
Do you realize what would happen?
They're gonna throw you off a roof if you go over there.
Yeah, for real. It's like you're advocating for a group of people that would quite literally throw you off a building and stone you in the streets if you survived.
Yep.
Are you crazy? The answer is yes.
But how can you weaponize crazy people's... You put an ideology into them, and then you weaponize it by tapping into their feelings with quote-unquote empathy.
Because then they're rage baited
psychological tricks.
Yeah, they rage bait them into rioting in the streets, basically, is what happens.
And I think Charlie understood that, because after I did this study on empathy versus sympathy, the only way that you can hopefully stop this from happening is take the word away. If you take the word away, then you take the meaning away. When you take the meaning away, then you take the ability to teach that into people. And this is what they're teaching into university students. And then once they've taught it into them, it's a training.
And even further down, they'll teach it down to your children in elementary school and high school as well.
These are all psyops, psychological behaviors. This is neuro-linguistic programming. I've studied NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Look it up. People, that's neuro, head, linguistic, and program. You can program someone's brain by what you say. And 4 years is all it takes to program a lot of garbage into students to radicalize them, and then you know exactly how to trigger them. That's what's happening in our country, and you need to understand how that happened. So empathy is what they've been doing to tap in. They've figured out a way. These German, we'll get to those guys. So in the 1950s, Carl Rogers was a humanistic psychologist. He championed the concept of empathy in his work, promoting its importance for patient-centered therapy and emotional understanding. So then I asked AI, was Carl Rogers a socialist? Here's the answer. Not a socialist, but a humanist psychologist whose theories have been described as having revolutionary or politically progressive effect on society. What is progressive? Socialist. They just use a different word. No, he's not a socialist. No, don't say that.
He's just a progressive.
Politically progressive effect on society says he's a socialist. So now you've got a socialist that uses individual empowerment through empathy that is revolutionary. When we want chaos in the streets and we want a color revolution, we have to tap into the young people of the country, radicalize them, and turn them against the authority so that they march in the streets. That's what we have right now. Where was the beginning? Way back here.
But notice how it's only one side that's out marching in the street.
Yep. He focused on individual empowerment rather than blah, blah, blah. His work aligned with liberal and democratic ideals, not conservative. His influence was political in a broad sense. Democratized the role of the therapist, empowerment and self-determination, and consistent with democratic values, democratic ideals, and a democratic way. So then I asked, what led to empathy's rise in the mid-20th century? I wanted to see if AI would lie to me, start sliding garbage to me, or tell me the truth. It told me kind of the truth.
A half-truth.
The mid-20th, it tells you enough that if you don't understand what it's telling you, you won't get it. That's why I'm going to just break it down, boil it down for you. The mid-20th century rise of empathy, replacing sympathy as the dominant term for sharing feelings. See that? Replaced it as the dominant term. They needed to try to do that. I think we still use sympathy as dominant, but empathy is like way out there. Was primarily driven by the humanistic psychology movement and the cultural introspection that followed World War II. Okay, so now you have to go with the humanistic psychology movement. What's that about? Where did that happen? That came out of the Frankfurt School in Germany. These were the Nazi psychologists that had nowhere to go. Where did they go? Where did they end up?
Well, they came over here, and they went to Canada as well, I believe.
But they centralized in one place.
Wasn't it California?
Columbia University.
Oh.
Huh.
Surprise, surprise.
What else did we just talk about Columbia University yesterday?
Oh, weird. It's almost like Buttigieg's father was a professor at Columbia who also translated the Marxist ideologies of Antonio
Gramsci. Isn't this a
weird
coincidence?
Is it a coincidence, though? Because we don't believe in coincidence.
Huh. That's a coincidence. We'll talk more about the Frankfurt School and that whole thing. Operation Paperclip, if anybody's ever heard about that. So the shift happened. This is the key. Listen closely to this. I'm going to have Mer read because they shifted from aesthetics to psychology. Well, who knows what that means? What does that mean? A shift from aesthetics to psychology.
Couldn't tell you.
You're not supposed to know. You're not supposed to be able to. That's why. So, tell them what aesthetics is.
It says, aesthetics is a branch of philosophy that studies the nature of beauty, art, and taste, and the creation and appreciation of beautiful things. And then it says that it comes from a Greek word, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because I will butcher it, meaning sense of perception.
So when somebody was struggling,
aesthetikos is what it says, the Greek word is.
More people that needed, that were struggling in life, that, yep, there's more that's going to be coming. Got to go back because I need to refer to that. No. This one. Nature of beauty, art, and taste, and the creation and appreciation of beautiful things. So remember when we talked about what is good, true, and beautiful? And Marxism and communism needs to snuff that out.
That was one of the Marxist ideologies, which we will have dropped the first in a series for the book that we're going to be going over. It's called, what is it?
The Naked Communist.
The Naked Communist. We're doing a sub-series on that, so you'll be able to see those videos as well. And that's one of the things that they explain is necessary to create the perfect breeding ground for Marxism, basically.
Yep. And so when people had problems, they were struggling, how was that addressed before we got all of these German psychologists from Germany, 1935, from the Frankfurt School? Look up the Frankfurt School. Not good. Really not good. A lot of the Nazi stuff came out of the Frankfurt School. So they come here, but United States used to treat anybody that was having some type of issue with nature of beauty, art, and taste, and the creation and appreciation of beautiful things, going back to those Greek philosophers. So what is good, true, and beautiful were the things that were able to bring people back on track by saying, let's get you back from where you are, and let's focus you on what's good, true, and beautiful. Those are the things.
Sounds like they're trying to focus them more on gratitude than anything else.
Yep. Being
grateful for the good things around them rather than focusing on the bad things around them.
Exactly. And so, philosophers in aesthetics investigate how people make and justify judgments about beauty. The subjectivity versus objectivity of taste has been a major debate. So remember, subjective reality versus objective, that's a big thing that has switched now in our culture, and it was done on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sublime. I just remember the group Sublime.
Right, me too.
And so what has happened is the sublime has been removed from helping people. Beyond just beauty, aesthetics also covers the sublime, the quality of greatness that inspires awe and fear, which again, that's the Lord. We're talking God there. Often in the presence of something vast and powerful. So that's what the sublime is. So they replaced that. They took aesthetics away because this new thing came in with the new psychologists that were teaching all the people in America the new things, which when we go into define psychology, I thought I had screenshot that. And then we'll realize, define psychology. And we'll go to AI mode. Psychology is the scientific study of the mind and behavior. As both an academic and applied field, it encompasses the biological, social, and environmental factors that influence how people think, act, and feel. So controlled experiments, case studies, observations, hypotheses, with a focus on mind and behavior. So what does that tell you? That tells you that they went more to how can we control the outcomes of this person instead of how can we heal. If this person is having some great sadness, can we bring them back to what's good, true, and beautiful? We can, under aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
Under psychology, no.
You'd want to have to do it. That's what the whole point of this is it's switched from wanting to bring them back from that
mm-hmm.
to wanting to weaponize that.
Exactly. So now we have the...
And that's why it's so important that we say words mean things.
Exactly. A new therapeutic concept came into play and practice at that time. To an artist's ability to project feelings into a work of art after World War II, psychologists shifted the concept from art to interpersonal relationships. So let's go ahead and change the meaning of this word so we can weaponize people's feelings. We can get into their minds. We can get into their behaviors, and let's mess with them and see if we can cause behaviors in these people by messing with their mind.
Mind you, this is someone who's already vulnerable.
Reframing empathy as a crucial psychological skill. A psychological skill called empathy, that's not what that is. That's brainwashing, and that's mind effing.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for saying that, but it's the truth.
They come to you for help, and instead they just get weaponized and turned into a soldier for a movement that wants to destroy everything.
Empathy, as defined by Rogers and others, provided a way to study human behavior that emphasized subjective experience, emotion, and free will. Only subjective now, not objective. You can no longer have anything objective to look at.
And see, that's such a crazy argument that we have nowadays when you talk to people. And they don't believe that there is such a thing as objective truth anymore.
Because it's been removed.
Yeah.
And this was where
this is the beginning of there is no such thing as an objective truth. Continue.
No. They can take away objective truth when they've taken away objective feeling.
Exactly.
This one. Philosopher Martin
Bubbers? Or Boobers, maybe?
In contrast, the new psychological understanding of empathy, exemplified by philosopher Martin Bubbers, I and thou, stressed human respect for the other person and challenged the tendency to objectify them. So, don't objectify anybody or anything. So now you have to try to tell people after World War II, you know what? Your enemy, you can't say those things about your enemy. No, your enemy's evil. You can objectify them. You can call it what is it. It is. It's evil, and it was extinguished. The end. But the psychological garbage began at that time. And then the shift positioned empathy as a more aspirational cultural value. When did they do that? They started it in the 1950s in Reader's Digest. They said the ability to appreciate the other person's feelings without yourself becoming so emotionally involved that your judgment is affected. So now they're pushing it in magazines.
Hold on. Let me see that again. I want to look at it. Let me read it. All right, because I have some thoughts on this. So Reader's Digest says, and she already said this, so I'm going to reread it. Ability to appreciate the other person's feelings without yourself becoming so emotionally involved that your judgment is affected. So basically that's telling you that you need to have empathy, which we just talked about as the beginning. You need to have empathy for the other person, and you need to put your own feelings aside so that you're not so judgmental towards them. And
you have to immerse yourself in their feelings.
Right. In theory,
become one with their feelings.
Correct. So what I'm trying to say here is, in theory, this all sounds nice and cushy, right? It sounds like you're really being a good moral person
and a good friend.
Yeah, to not allow your own feelings to overshadow someone else's feelings. Now, this is what's being weaponized against us, because if you're not empathetic enough, then you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a this, that. Then they use that to label you because you don't feel it enough. Even though it's made up. Even though a lot of what they're trying to shove down your throat is made up BS.
From the Frankfurt School,
because they've also
German
dissolved the fact that there's
psychologists
objective truth
that came here in 1935 and were asserted into Columbia University, where they began to train all of the professors that are going to go across the country.
This is what bothers me, and this is the heart of what we're talking about. And I'm going to give you an example of what we're talking about right now. If somebody comes up to you and says, my pronouns are they, them, first, the objective truth here is that's not real, because they are either a male or a female. But if you say, I don't believe that, immediately they bring this as a weapon against you and say, well, you're not empathetic enough because this person truly believes that they are a they, them.
And
they don't believe that they are a male or a female. They believe that they are a they, them, and you are a bad person for not
The reply to
affirming
that is, I am not going to be made to be a liar because of your mental illness.
I will not
I'm not
lie.
saying that you can't LARP around however you want. Live action role play is LARP.
Yeah.
You can LARP around as a girl all you want, but at the end of the day, I will still call you boy or he because I will not lie because of your mental illness. Your mental illness cannot make me a liar.
No.
But it's supposed to be able to make you a liar because as you lie, because you feel that you need to, what does that do to your heart? What does that do to your relationship with God now that you're lying about everything and you feel that
You're
lie?
lying about his creations.
Yes.
Think about that. He created these people, men and women. That's how he created them.
Genesis says so.
He did not create them, they, them, or I'm a furry self or a zim zang, whatever the hell ever else. He didn't create
Bing,
them
bang,
as
walla,
that.
walla, ding, dang.
Yeah, he didn't throw them down the stairs and name them, you know, the sounds they make as you throw the silverware down the stairs. Like, that's not the reality of life. The reality is God made them male and female, and that is the truth objectively. So that is the one example that I wanted to give you of this at play. The objective truth being taken away and then it weaponized against you with your feelings, telling you that you're a terrible person if you don't feel so inclined to call this person a they, them. You're not a bad person. But your relationship with God and the truth of what God has done and made should come before other people's feelings, in my opinion.
And the enemy loves to laugh when a good Christian person trying their best lies about somebody's pronoun.
Yep.
Imagine the demons laughing when they get you to lie. When you know full well that that person you're looking at is a girl, but you say him or he to that person. The demons love it. And you know what? I'm not giving it to them.
And
Sorry.
they love to have that moral struggle within you, because then that gives you a divide between you and God and what he has made. And
which is their purpose.
And that's
communist
the whole purpose of it, because if they can separate you far enough from the truth of God, then they can separate you far enough from your relationship with God, and if you're far enough away from God, then they can capture you too.
Amen.
And that's the fact of the matter. That's just straight up the truth.
All nefarious, all wicked.
And it sucks because as a Christian, you want to be kind and you want to be good, and they are weaponizing that against us, telling you that you are not kind and you are not good if you refuse to lie. So it creates this crazy struggle between yourself and yourself, saying, well, do I want to hurt this person's feelings and be a bad person, or do I want to lie and be a bad person because lying is wrong? So then you're stuck between this battle of right and wrong, when in reality there should not be a struggle, because objective truth is there is no such thing as a they, them.
That's why Ryan Dobson had to write a book called Be Intolerant.
And that's a book that my husband and I are going to read together, because I think it's super important to read through that book and get empowered to stand in truth and stand on it boldly, because I think that's a lot of what's been taken away from us as well, is being able to stand boldly in what you know to be true and being okay with the fallout from it.
And remember, silence, I wrote this down, silence is not kindness.
Amen.
Silence is compliance. And that's what they want from you and
we
me.
were too compliant for far too long.
Far too long. Far too long. I
We
complied
say all
with
this
things.
Not in judgment of you. If you're still in that place, this is not a judgment against you, because the both of us have struggled and grappled with this for years. As, you know, people that we know close to us begin falling into these traps of I'm a trans this and the other, and how do you handle that? Family, friends, you name it. Like, we've gone through it. And it's a really
things
hard...
that I wish I could go back and do over.
I know.
Because I feel like I wasn't.
You didn't stand in God's truth enough.
See, that's exactly it.
Yes.
I had that conversation
and that's the conviction that sits in your
McCall
heart.
a couple days ago.
It sits in your heart, and you feel that conviction of, I knew that I should have said X, Y, Z, because I know what God says, and I didn't because I didn't want to make waves. I didn't want to hurt someone's feelings.
I wanted to be a person that person could still say loved them and still loved God. I wanted
she's a Christian and
connection.
She still loves me, and that's the slot that we ended up being put in is, you're a Christian and you still love them. Yes, we love you no matter what. That's the basic of it. Like, just because you choose something else does not mean that we don't love you anymore.
No.
It has nothing to do with the love for another person and everything to do with the choice to not lie and to not devalue what God made, and to love someone so much that you won't lie to them either.
And then bringing this to present day.
Yes.
Empathy is biased and selective. Research shows that people feel more empathy for those who are similar to themselves in terms of race, culture, social group, or physical attractiveness, potentially leading to injustice and neglect on a larger societal scale. So you have to read that with reading between the lines. You got to see I see their formula there. So empathy, when you can radicalize someone's empathy, you can begin to silo them, break them apart in terms of race, culture, social group, physical attractiveness. Now you have the people broken down into 4 silos that you can now exploit and weaponize. Because united you stand, divided you fall. So you can use empathy on the people that are vulnerable, the people that maybe feel self-conscious about how attractive they are, or they've been told that they're in some social group or racial group or subculture that is a minority, so now they're pounding you with how much of a minority you're in and how much the majority hates you, so now you have to come together with your tribe, and they begin to weaponize. Once they get you siloed into a like group, they can radicalize you really fast with this psychological garbage that was brought here through the Frankfurt School, through the psychologists that came to Columbia University in 1935 and began to train all of academia in it at that point.
And where is Columbia University?
East Coast. You'll have to look up for sure. I think New York, but I'm not sure. Double check. So by 1960, academia was full of Marxist professors that were trained in psychological manipulation of the vulnerable. I thought it was New York, but I wasn't sure. So this can lead to irrational and even immoral decision making. It says empathy can misdirect resources.
It was first established in 1754 as King's College by royal charter under George II of Great Britain on the grounds of Trinity Church in Manhattan.
So it was created before we were a country.
Yeah, that's how long it's been here.
Now look. So this can lead to an irrational and even immoral decisions, such as focusing on a single identifiable victim, while ignoring far greater suffering endured by many people. Yale psychologist Paul Bloom argues that a rational compassion is a better guide for moral actions than raw emotional empathy. Raw emotional empathy. Doubling back on focusing on a single identifiable victim, George Floyd and BLM. They did not see, while ignoring far greater suffering endured by many people. How many people were enduring suffering during the riots of the Summer of Love in 2020, Miranda?
I don't know.
We had between 40 and 45 deaths starting there. Nobody cared. Did they care about the shop owners that they burned down their businesses? Did they care about the people that they beat in the streets? Did they care about anything, anywhere? All they cared about was George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
That would be called focusing on a single identifiable victim. These people were radicalized, they were weaponized, and doing it through empathy. Now, hopefully, that helps you to understand what happened there. It can be manipulated for harmful purposes. Political rhetoric, for instance, can evoke empathy for one group to demonize or justify aggression toward another. Huh.
Sound familiar?
We're seeing that right now after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Demonize and justify the aggression toward him. All of this maniac stuff that you're hearing about how much he deserved it.
Still makes my stomach sick.
That's why when you hear people say that it's a psyop, it's because these people have been psychologically manipulated. Plain and simple. And it's been happening for a long time. Empathy is an unreliable guide for morality. Unreliable guide for morality.
Yet that's what they're telling us we should be using as our guide for morality.
What was the guide for morality before they switched empathy and sympathy?
God.
God.
And it still should be.
God. How crazy is that? And then we're going to end.
We're going to end with a tidbit and what you have to say. So I looked this up, and we'll talk more on this because Mom said we're going to do a part 2. But there is a notable refugee, so I looked it up here about Columbia University when she was talking about Nazis who fled and started teaching at Columbia University.
From the Frankfurt School
So
in
one
Germany.
of them, the very first one that pops up here, his name is Erich Fromm. You can look him up.
2 M's.
Yep.
If that's the guy I'm thinking of.
It is. And his name is spelled Erich. He is a German sociologist and psychoanalyst. Fromm fled the Nazi regime and moved to the U.S., and he began teaching at Columbia University in 1934. His experiences informed his work on understanding why a population would turn to authoritarianism. So that's just one example.
Oh, boy.
Of somebody who fled, and they say that he fled the Nazi regime. We won't dive into if that's true or not, but it's an example of someone who was, in that time, from Germany, came to the U.S., and began teaching at Columbia University. Immediately.
How do you bring a German psychotherapist here and have him immediately teaching when they came from that regime? Are you kidding me? They also ended up in the FDR administration. Many both from that party as well as communists that came up through the Woodrow Wilson stuff. So 2 things I wanted to show you. Remember when I talked to you about old books? So this is one. American History, a Survey. This one's from 1961. And poor Miranda has already been designated to be the keeper of my books.
I don't know why that'd
when
be
I
poor.
am no longer on this earth, because holy cow, I have books.
I love books.
I know. So,
I have a library in my home because I love books so much.
So this one, under the heritage of patriotism, let me read you. This is from, this is actually high school level American history of 1961. They died on this, this is talking about Jefferson and Adams. Miranda just found out that they died on the same day, which was the 4th of July. 4th of July of 1826.
Which, how crazy is that?
And that's what we're going to talk about here. How crazy is that? We don't believe in coincidence, do we?
No, we
believe
do not.
in, I taught my children that they are God incidents, not coincidence. Because God is involved in that.
Everything.
And Jefferson and Adams became bitter enemies for a lot of decades, but then the last 4 years of their life, they actually began writing letters back and forth to each other, and we still have those letters archived to this day, and they're beautiful letters, and they became friends again, and they both died on the same day. So this is when they're being taught that, which Miranda was never taught this. I was taught this. She wasn't. They died on the same day, and that day was July 4, 1826, exactly half a century after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. To some, this appeared to be more than a coincidence, perhaps a sign from who?
God.
God. A sign from God instructing the American people to cherish the nationality their ancestors had so dearly won.
Amen.
This is when we helped children see God. God, they were trained in the ability to see God in their world, in school, and in their books, until that was taken away just shortly after this. God is in all of the old textbooks. I have a lot of old textbooks, and He's in all of them until He was taken out, and He needs to be put back in again, because that's the truth that our children need. And then this one, I'm not sure Mur has even seen this one.
I've not.
One of my pride and joy. Mesa's School History of the United States. This book, it's important for you to understand that this is an elementary book. And this is for, there it says elementary, if you can see that.
Yep.
So this is history for 5th and 6th graders. Miranda, start reading through just the topics here of what
So the table of contents.
Oh, and what year was this? I'm sorry.
It says that it was 1492 through 1607.
This book.
Oh.
It's a 1901, I believe, because I wanted to find a book before Woodrow Wilson screwed everything up. And so there it is.
1914. Oh, copyright 1904.
1904,
So
sorry.
It's a 1904 book.
So this is what children learned in 5th grade in 1904.
How Europe found America. And then the subcategories of that are Europe needs a new route to India, Columbus seeks a new route and finds a new world. The next one is where Europe planted institutions, the foundation of claims to territory, and the Indians. The next one is the colony of Virginia. Period of experiment, getting a permanent foothold, Virginia as a royal province, Virginia under the Commonwealth, the king's supporters again in power. The next chapter is the other southern colonies, Maryland, the Carolinas, and Georgia. Then the next chapter is Massachusetts, and it says, the Pilgrims settle Plymouth, the Great Puritan Migration founds the Bay Colony, growth in politics and religion. Beginnings of education, outside dangers and their consequences. That would be a nice one for people to learn these days. Then the next chapter is the other New England colonies, so those being Maine and New Hampshire, Connecticut and New Haven, as well as Rhode Island.
So how much of this were you ever taught in school?
Probably none, honestly.
Probably none. I'm going to be teaching Olivia out of this book. And this is...
realistically none. Like, thinking back, we talk about, the discovery, Columbus and the discovery, and that's probably about it.
Imagine all that they're teaching 5th and 6th grade children that are not necessary.
They teach you so much crap. And you wonder why kids get so bored in school, because they're not being actually taught anything interesting. No. They're just being taught a bunch of BS that no one's interested in. And then if they're anything like me or Christopher or Amanda, they get bored and check out. And then guess what they do with their time when they're checked out? They become mischievous. And the other friends of theirs that also check out, they become mischievous as a group, and then everyone knows what happens from there. We don't see true education in public school systems anymore. Yeah, it's sad.
We We don't, and I'm sorry to say that. And that's not a knock on teachers. It's
no,
not.
by no means.
It is a failed education model.
Mm-hmm.
So I love my old books. I love my old textbooks. I have so many old textbooks that I'm looking so forward to teaching Olivia out of. So that just gives us a little bit of empathy, sympathy, and gender and sex. I would encourage you to not use the word gender again and not use the word empathy again, because those were put there to specifically
derail
America. Yep. So we have. How do you start unshooting the gun? How do you start unwinding the clock?
You have to reclaim what they've taken away.
You have to. And so my reclamation is to stop using their words. So this is me trying to explain. I could easily come on and just say, stop using the word empathy. I'd sound like a kook.
A reason why.
But I need to explain why. And same thing with gender. I need to explain why.
And again, it's not based in hate. Not at all.
It's based in
There is no hate to one person or group of people by any means.
Truth. So many words have been changed in the last 60, 70 years. And it's been done on purpose. Our world had those words. Our world knew sympathy for 3,000, 4,000 years. They knew sex for as much. Since the beginning of time, they knew this is a boy and this is a girl. And all of a sudden, there's a spectrum! Surprise! No. Mm-mm.
And now everything is a spectrum.
Yep.
Nothing can just be binary anymore. Everything's got to be a spectrum.
And all of that confusion causes trauma. And then the traumas is where they can get in there emotionally, empathetically, hijack their emotions, and away they go.
Bingo.
So that's all I have for my.
I think that was probably our longest one yet.
Yikes. Words mean things.
So are we doing this as a one-parter or a two-parter?
Two-parter. Oh.
So there is an additional part here?
Well, I have more words.
Okay, well, this is still part one. So there will be a part two coming.
Yeah, you can always break this up. You can do one word and then one set and then the other set.
I feel like we'll lose stuff if we do that.
Okay.
So yes, part one.
It's a long one.
It is a long one. But I think it's worth it.
I have 2 more sets of words in the next one.
Hopefully the next I'll try not to derail the next one. This is partially my fault for going on a rant. So
it's okay.
But that's
Till
all we have.
Till tomorrow in part 2.
See you next time.
Bye.
God bless.
Oh.